Welcome back to Us Your Biz. I am your host tonight, Jackie Birch. We just came from Alana and the artist, and what a beautiful kind of business that we got into. And now on this segment, we are talking more practicality and something that I think anybody can use in any time in their life. I am here with Michael and Molly. Molly is a testimonial to Michael's business as Winning Tax Solutions, because who wins in this world? Michael. So Michael works specifically with the IRS and tax issues. Can you elaborate a little bit on exactly what you specialize in?
Yeah, I'm an IRS enrolled agent. That means I'm licensed by the IRS to practice before the IRS. And I represent the taxpayer, which is you. If the IRS wants to come and take your bank account, I'm the guy you'd call. And mostly what I do is offers and compromises. I negotiate with the IRS to settle your tax debt for less money.
Amazing. I see that you are a retired IRS agent of 22 years. How was that transition for you into your own business?
Yes, well, that's right. I was a criminal investigator for the IRS for 22 years. I was a 9/11 responder. I was back in New York. I was on the drug task force for a while. I ran some of their programs, the bad tax repair program, the RPP program. So I had a kind of diverse career. I was on the Joint Terrorism Task Force for a little while.
Wow.
Did a lot of different things.
Right.
Worked closely with the Secret Service. Worked some of my last cases jointly with the Secret Service. Used to do a lot of dignitary protection back before 9/11, before they got out of Treasury. And what happened was I took a job down here in Florida. I started a tax practice at a law firm for them, and then I went out on my own. And I've been on my own for the last 10 years.
It's amazing. You know, especially it's so nice to know the security in knowing where you're going with somebody with such personal and scary information. I know, Molly, you can attest to that. I mean, you went through the whole thing, but just even hearing Michael's experience, he is so dedicated to the field. You know, you knew you wanted to do this your whole life, and now he's just out there winning and helping for people.
This is Jackie Birch, and she does have a radio show. It's Us Your Biz, and it's with Jackie Birch, obviously, Tuesday nights at 7 p.m. Eastern time. And she is coming out with a new podcast called Hacks by Jack, and that should be interesting. We'll learn more about that as the interview goes on. I'm really excited to have you on and looking forward to this conversation. Appreciate this.
Yeah, me too. Thank you so much for having me on. I'm excited.
All right, so let's talk to this for the people that don't know you. Can you tell the viewers and the listeners also that may be listening on the radio a little bit about you?
Yeah, of course. So I am 22 years old. I'm a baby. I'm from New York, and I went to Lynn University. My freshman year here, I decided to start working really hard, getting in internships, getting other opportunities with the radio. So I was studying multimedia journalism, and I moved down here full time I think I was living in Delray Beach in, I think, 2018, 2019. So that was a really hard learning experience. I mean, being 18, 19 years old, living alone, paying all these bills, but it teaches you resilience and independence and how to work really hard if you want something. After I graduated Lynn, I have still just been down here. I'm in Boca right now, and just learning about life and taking it one day at a time.
So I'm 30, so I'm a little bit older than you, but when I went to Lynn, it was very hard for me to adapt because I went to Catholic school my whole life,
Right.
and it was a whole different ball game.
Yeah.
So anyways, regardless, I did get involved and met a lot of people through athletics, soccer, and also knowing a lot of the other sports players in general, which helped me adapt. But how did you adapt? Did you play any sports? Were you just basically in that work environment, that multimedia journalist radio environment? Or how did you adapt?
So I didn't play any sports, but I have always been really into fitness. So I would just go to the gym that was on campus. I met a lot of people through that. I got really close. You probably know her. She's a professor. She's Stephanie Powers.
Yeah, of course.
Yeah, of course. I mean, she's almost everybody's mentor, and she's so great. But I got really heavily involved with her, and I dabbled a little bit with the newspaper. I didn't really take it too seriously, if I'm being completely honest. But I I think it was the third week that I was there. There was a job fair, and I went and I shook hands with everybody there, and I wound up getting an internship, and they put me on the radio the next week. I mean, so
Wow.
doing that was, I guess, my coping mechanism to adapt, and basically where I found my passion. And then through that, people started recognizing me on campus. I mean, I was getting a little bit bigger on social media, their social media, my
Mm.
own personal. It's not like I have like a million followers, but Lynn's a small school, so everyone starts to recognize you. And I'll never forget, I didn't play a sport, but I wore red shoes for a while. I just had my red sneakers on, and that was my introduction to everybody. Everyone was like, "Oh, you're the girl with the red shoes." I'll never forget that. But I got involved with people that were in sports. So, I mean, they became my best friends. So
Yeah.
I got to meet that, those type of people that were on sports, and, just going out and just meeting people, really.
So I want to go back in time a little bit to something that you just said,
Mhm.
going to that job fair, shaking hands with all these employers at 18 or 19 years old,
Yep.
whatever it may be. That shows a lot of maturity. I know at that age, I felt
Right.
I was somewhat mature, but I didn't go to the job fair. I
Yeah.
only had the job at the gym where I worked there for 3.5 years. That was like
Right.
glory days for me, living in Old
Yeah.
Lynn and the second room to the right and walking into the gym, working out and going back out. But
Well,
anyways, go
I'm
ahead.
really honestly super fortunate just because I grew up with a single mom, and it
Oh,
wasn't
okay.
like we had a lot. And all that she taught us was be poised, be grateful, be humble, and shake everybody's hand.
Mhm.
She owns her own business. So growing up, I mean, my after school activities included just going to her office and talking to clients and answering phones. And she was more in the law business, but I mean, it really opened a whole other networking world for me. And she still is just such a role model. She's a really great woman. She's really highly respected because she networks. So
Yeah.
it was almost a lead by example. So she would drag me there. I'm like 12, 14. Do you want to buy raffle tickets? Do you want to buy raffle tickets? So, I mean, I got my foot in the door of just the networking world early on. I always had a job, so I was never my work ethic. I wasn't afraid of. I wanted to work hard, and you go up to anybody in any business and you tell them that you're a hard worker and that you want to work for them, they're not going to say no, especially when you're 18 and you're not asking to get paid. I mean,
Right,
it's
true.
they're going to be more susceptible to it. So
I'm just kind of going back, and I don't want to bag anybody that went to our school, but
okay,
we look at a lot of the kids that did go there, very privileged kids from
right,
very privileged backgrounds,
hmm,
and they really weren't looking to work. It was
right,
basically hang around at the pool, party, drink alcohol, like a lot of
yeah,
normal college kids in general.
right,
So
right.
that's why I was extremely surprised when you said you went to a job fair at that age and kind
Yeah.
of showed that initiative to
I
get
think I was the
involved that
only
early.
freshman there. It was a little intimidating. But I said to my mom, I was like, I remember called her up and I'm like,
Yeah.
Mom, this kid's got a freaking Audi. Like, he's got an Audi, he's got a Lexus. I'm like, I think I just saw a Lamborghini. I mean, I really hadn't ever seen money like this. But I used it as motivation because, nice things are nice for a reason. And
Yeah.
they make people want it. And I remember I went home for Christmas break and I said, I can't leave. I can't come back to Long Island where I really can't, I can excel in this hole. Um, and she doubted me. Everyone doubted me. And
Mm.
I just worked really hard. I got a restaurant job. I started getting paid from the radio. I was doing production then for the radio. I was hired by an outside company that saw me hosting to be their host. It opened a lot of doors. I started making money, and this is what my biggest life lesson was at 19, 20, 21 was you have a choice in your life, and everything is just a choice. There's no right or wrong. There's no
Mhm.
whatever, but every choice that you make is going to lead you down a certain path. I had the option where I was making a lot more money at that age than a lot of other people that I knew, I remember my friend would be like, well, I only have $50 this week to spend. And I couldn't wrap my head around it, but other people weren't working. So I had the choice to go out and party which I mean, I did, and I had the time of my life, but I also had the choice where, okay, do I want to get serious at a young age so that I can rest easy? Yeah, I do. And I want it, and I'm hungry. And I put all my money into almost just investing into myself. And now we're just here.
No, that's an amazing story, and it plays to a lot of people that listen in. We do have a lot of men that mostly listen to this show. From the demographics I saw was from, I think it was 25, 24 rather to 35. So you are playing to them to say, hey, get off your ass, get out
Yeah.
and work, and actually work hard. And even the people that listen that are younger than that, you're playing to
Right.
them. So no, I
I think,
appreciate that. Go
yeah.
ahead.
No, definitely. It's one of the hardest things. It's like it really is just mind over body, and you have to just you have to do it. And every single, I mean, there are still times where I'm exhausted and I don't want to work anymore, and I feel, you know, a little bit of a pity party. But you have to get off your ass at the end of the day, and no one feels bad for you. You know, you
Right.
just have to keep reminding yourself that, do you want to be a victim or do you want to be a CEO of your life? And you know, you can feel bad for yourself all you want, but it's not going to get you anywhere. But it really is just practicing gratitude for every little thing that you have, every big thing that you have, and it just puts everything in a perspective where makes it a little bit easier.
So at 18 or 19, you said you were working on the radio and hosting. Are we talking about Lynn Radio, or are we talking
No.
about a legit station?
Yeah, so tell us your biz. I was doing that at 18,
Oh,
19.
wow.
So the outside company was a healthcare professionals. I started interviewing, and I got hired by a company that wanted a spot on the radio. And I was doing that Monday nights at 7:30, no, at 7, and it was an hour-long show. So when I first started, the company that I worked for was called the Brooklyn Cafe TV.
Right.
They're getting bigger, you know. I
Right.
started out with them and they were kind of small, so they loved the quirk. They loved having people come on and just be authentic. So
Yeah.
they were not scared to have me on and not know what I was talking about, which was the best experience for them. I'm always grateful. But I learned my passion, and I guess I found comfort in it because, you know, being alone down here, living alone down here, no family, no best friends from high school or anyone that really knows you, they became like my family. So I would just go there during the weeks after classes, and I would do production. And I mean, the networking with any show that was on, it went from uh, Hollywood entertainment to business and investing and, you know, information that I didn't know what I was hearing, but you go out there, you shake hands, and someone saw me on the radio for an open spot and asked to meet with me. And they met with me. They offered me their a position in their company to do the hosting for the radio. So that was me at 19. And then COVID happened, but COVID, okay. Well, I guess I did that until I was around 20, 21.
Yeah.
And then COVID happened and I lost it. But now I'm back.
While you were in college, you had 2 or 3 part-time jobs, I should say.
Yeah.
With that said, you know, like you said, everybody's partying, going out, doing drugs,
Mhm,
having a good time, which is mostly what college is in general.
mhm.
How did you accomplish, because you say you still had time to party and
Yeah.
have fun, but how did you accomplish all that with 2 or 3 part-time jobs, and then being exhausted from doing
Yep.
that, and then doing your schoolwork because
Mhm.
you took, I'm sure, extra classes to
Yep.
get ahead, and also having fun? I mean, it must
Yeah.
have been like emotionally draining, physically
Mhm.
draining, you know, part of your life in general.
So, I mean, I grew up being very close to New York, so I partied my whole young life, you know, my fake ID. So I kind of knocked a lot of it out of my system. But I think what was really important to me was there are 24 hours in the day, and you can use 1 hour, 2 hours, whatever you want, but use it productively. So I would literally wake up, I would go to the radio station, I would do a set, I'd come back, I'd go to class, I'd get ready, I'd go work at a restaurant. I would come home probably around like 11 or 12. People would be going out. I'd get dressed and I'd go out and meet people. After a while, it was the most hectic time of my life. But you know, I also wanted to have fun and enjoy it. And I think I just in general thrive when I'm busy because, I don't want to get lazy. And the radio show was based out of an art gallery. It was small. So they had like a little room. And then the guy at the art gallery offered me a position to do director of marketing. So then I went into there, and that was more flexibility. He told me, he was like, just do what you got to do. I know that you're in school and you're doing 10 million other things. Come in when you want to come in and whatever. I never really had time off where it was weekends. I was working doubles at the restaurant, and then, Monday through Friday, nighttime at the radio in between classes. Gratefully, they were right in Boca, so it was kind of easy to drive and make it back. But, you do get in over your head, and especially at that age, you don't know what you don't know. And you almost are so naive, and you feel so invincible, and like that nothing bad is ever going to happen. And one day you wake up and you're drained. And I'll never forget that. It was like, I had to really realize, okay, I need to prioritize things, and I need to let some things go. I let go of the art gallery. I kept the radio, but I switched around some hours. So I wasn't working every day anymore. I was mostly just doing the Monday night shows and going in on Friday mornings from, I would say, 10 to 12:30, and doing basically for the up and coming week. So it was a broadcasting segment that would go live, and hi guys, it's Jackie Birch from the Brooklyn Cafe TV, and this is what's coming up this week. And they would air that on, I think, Sunday. And so that was pre-recorded, or it would go live and I would just talk about the show. I'd run out, go to classes, and then I just then it was good.
Gosh, you're making me nervous even talking about all that stuff. That's pretty incredible. So did you do the 3.0 program, by the way?
Yeah.
Okay, I figured that because you say you took more classes. Okay.
Yep.
So that goes even into another thing. I know you keep kind of going through this about moving on with your life, going through college, having fun, working hard at school, working hard in your jobs to accomplish and be the best you can be. Why do the 3.0 program? It's great, but it seems like it's almost you just keep putting that overload on yourself if you do take that program. Whereas other people that are just taking the regular classes, you're taking 5 classes, you can work, you're enjoying yourself, and it's not just as stressful than, taking the 6th class.
If I'm going to be completely honest with you, I hate school. So I didn't want to even be there. I didn't even want to study. I thought it was BS. I was like, I'm already working my ass off. I already know what I'm doing. But that, that's also being 18 and naive and thinking that you know everything. I didn't come from a lot of money. So the thought that I could save on a year's worth of tuition was so attractive to me. And I was, do it because you can save $30,000 extra or whatever else. Plus it just motivated me. I grew up in a really small town. I was always kind of loud and crazy, and
you Italian?
No. Okay. No.
I'm Italian, and I always know when I was in Boca, it's either Jewish or Italian, mostly, pretty much.
Yep. No, my dad totally wanted to be Italian, and he's like the most non-Italian you'll ever meet. He's like, what are you, pasta fagioli? You want the mozzarella? It's like out of control. But no, I'm not. But I think just growing up, it went from teachers to kids to parents of kids always telling me I was never going to amount to anything. And it was hard. It was really hard, honestly. I remember.
How did you not get into we've talked about this on this show. It goes to a different topic, but with COVID, that there's a lot of people in their 20s and 30s that are kind of depressed because they've been locked in the house, or they've lost their job or their house or whatever it may be. And the depression, anxiety level with our age demographic is extremely high. Even with that, with people telling you you're not going to amount to anything, belittling you in plain English, how did you not let that get to you? I mean, obviously.
I did. I really struggled growing up with a lot of anxiety and depression. I still struggle. I dabble with it.
We all do.
It's always there. But I used it as motivation. I was so angry and I was so hurt. And yes, you know that you have anxiety. Yes, you know you have depression. But every time I would talk about it with my therapist, it almost made me angrier that it was just, yep, you just have it. There's no exact cure. You can take medication. And I would get so angry and I would just, oh my God, it was so infuriating. And having everybody's doubts it just made me want to say, screw you. I'm going to do it. And I'm going to show you that I'm going to do it, because actions over words. And, but I crashed and burned. I'm not even gonna lie. Like, I want to say when I was 20 and I was still living alone, and I think it was my junior year, I suffered the worst depression and anxiety of my entire life, to the point I didn't honestly think that I was gonna live. Like, I really didn't even, I couldn't see it. And it's hard, but you crash and you burn when you're doing 10 million different things and you're always so maybe wrapped up with the wrong people at the time, and you how do you handle it? But you learn a lot and you come out. You just have to stay strong. It's like, I hate even talking like that, just because it's like, I remember when I was in my worst time and I would hear people, oh, just stay strong. It was almost like, you have no idea. You have no idea. Don't tell me that, and it's frustrating, but
Well, you're hitting on the topic that I've talked about on the show, interviewing different therapists. We've done that a lot through COVID. We've had quite a few therapists on talking about, especially with men, because we're seeing male suicide really hit huge
right.
marks even before COVID, but now it's really high. Man up, pull yourself up by your bootstraps. And there's only, I should say, so much you can keep inside. I'm sure you see this, with guys, maybe that you've dated, maybe that you're friends with, that they act like they're macho man and they run around and act like they are, the toughest guy in the world.
Mhm.
But we have to think too that a lot of those guys have a lot of pain inside of them, and they are afraid to talk about it. They're afraid to let it out. I know personally that, and I probably won't put this in the interview, but I know personally that that's happened to me, that
Yeah.
I've kept a lot of stuff from my past inside me, and
Right.
people saying, suck it up, be a
Yeah.
man, grow up, and you don't do anything. You just keep it and you just inside of you. And then eventually you either do something really crazy, you take care of the problem, or you see this person on TV that's shooting up
Mhm.
the place.
It's horrible. I don't think that, I mean, it's definitely something that's really tough, but I
Yeah.
love psychology. So I think when I was going through it all, I really dove into what my brain was trying to tell me and honing into listening. But it's really a scary thing, especially for guys right now, just because, being vulnerable for anybody is tough. I mean, you're opening a door that you never want open. And when you're brave enough to speak about it and someone's going to rain on it, it's almost 10 times worse than if you just kept it in and you feel like it's never going to end. And yeah, I should be a man. And oh, I'm not living up to it. I can't be like this. And that goes into what I used to do a lot, is comparing yourself to other people. And I think that we're
Yes.
in such a world where everybody's just comparing X with Z and apples and oranges. And, well, you can look like this if you just do this, and you can be like this if you just do this. And especially with the male suicide rate, it's
Mm.
so horrible. I really feel horrible for it, because
Well,
you know what it's like, and you
yeah.
freak out, and there's no answer. You look for answers everywhere. But especially, I think just being a guy and dealing with it is a little bit different than a girl. And not even to get into like the whole gender stereotypes or anything, but like you just said, you're taught to man up and suck it up. It's not
It's
a
the
big deal.
stigma, right?
And
Well,
people
well,
are
that's what we're seeing too, Jackie, is a lot of millennials right now are switching jobs, especially after COVID. A lot of
right.
people that work in shitty jobs,
Yep.
whether, and I don't mean to demean people that work at restaurants and in box stores in general, but they're getting paid shitty wages, and they said, you know what, screw this, I'm done. I'm going to do something that I love,
Yep.
something that I enjoy. Even if I make less money at the beginning, eventually I will get to where I want to be. So I think that's great for society because it's putting those box stores, those restaurants,
Yeah.
those companies on check, but it's also getting to the people that are getting involved in these projects, such was what you are and myself too, that we're doing stuff that we love. Even if we're not going to make a lot of money, we're going to work hard. And then eventually we hope to progress to make that money.
Well, that's exactly what I did. I was working in a restaurant for, I mean, really my whole life. I was always kind of in the service industry, but then COVID happened and I lost my job. And it was, I can't even, just thinking about it, it gives me anxiety. It was the worst. It was horrible. It was just a mess. No one knew what they were doing. We go back and they overstaff it because they think, oh, it's going to be so busy, or, oh, we're going to have to split the restaurant. You're making maybe $10 a night. And I was at a point in my life, I mean, I had gone through it where, you know, you're making shit money. And I legitimately would make $10 for working an 8-hour shift during the day in the summer and go to Trader Joe's and look at the chicken, and it'd be $8.63, and I would buy it. I'd cut it in fours and I would have that for the week. It was really low. And you know, after COVID, I just kept thinking, I was like, well, how worse can it get? Who cares anymore? Who cares? I got a job at a law firm after COVID. I had a friend that was a lawyer, and he offered me a position. Well, he offered me an interview with the owner. I worked there for 7 months and then was miserable. It was like horrible. Wasn't making a lot of money at all. I was making more than what I was making at the restaurant, but it wasn't anything sufficient. I left and I met the company that I'm with now as an IT recruiting company, which, you know, but I'm working from home. So I think that's where, even going back into how do you do it all, you find outlets. If you have the availability to do remote work, do it and work on your passion on the side.
Right.
But even just switching jobs, I'm switching jobs and I'm starting a new job on the 19th. I mean, there's always something happening.
Why? Where are you switching to now?
So now I'm going to, it's called Leeward Luxury. They have villas in the Bahamas. So I'm going to be doing staffing for them and marketing for them.
Oh, okay. Was that like a timeshare kind of deal?
Yeah, almost,
Yeah.
but it's just for vacations,
Okay.
like high-end vacations, and there's just villas and stuff. But
because you know, I've met a lot of girls throughout my time at Lynn that were in communications or that I was generally friends with that, you know, worked in the iPulse or, you know, in general were involved in that TV radio realm at Lynn, worked with Martin Phillips, worked with Stephanie Powers. And a lot of these, you know, women that I was friends with, they wanted to go into TV. Everybody wants to go into TV, male or female. Why are you different? Why did you say, hey, radio is a great outlet, when I guess everybody's got a podcast now, everybody's got a YouTube show now. So it's really hard as far as to get your name out there. And we talked about this before the interview got on. So what made you not want to be like those other women that are in college at Lynn saying they want to run into TV and you run into radio instead?
well, I even just want to touch on that. TV is my end goal. That is like really what I want to do. It's glamorous, you know. You look at it.
Yeah.
Who doesn't want to be something like that? I think I noticed it. My parents divorced when I was 2, so I grew up in a split household. And my mom would always say, she's like, you know, you'd go to dad's and he'd have the news on, and you'd come back and you'd be like, okay, mom, I'm going to do a news segment. And you would verbatim tell me what happened. Daddy broke us up and we woke up at 7 and then we got breakfast and then we did this. And she's like, you just always were talking. You were always trying to make jokes. You were always trying to lighten the mood, and you loved the news. I remember my grandparents were huge in my life, and I would go over there every Sunday, and I would ask just to put entertainment news on. And I would sit in front of the TV for hours just watching Maria Menounos, Juliana Rancic, whoever was on, and just saying, I want to be them. I'm the first generation college student, so I had no idea what I was getting into. I thought I was going to have to study communications. I had no idea that journalism was a major, and multimedia journalism. I mean, people are freaking studying to cure cancer, and I'm studying to read something off of a teleprompter. So I better be really good at it. You know, it's like, you're like, oh my God, there's people in the biology lab that are who am, whatever, I'm going to do really good at it. So when I figured that out, I really honed into who can I model after and who's an inspiration to me. Maria Menounos, she's the whole reason why I wanted to be a journalist, watching her journeys through interviewing anybody and everybody and being on E! News and Entertainment Tonight and whatever, following those people, but doing it for the right reasons. And there was a time where I said, I don't want to do any of this anymore. And just recently, I kind of reevaluated all of it. Okay, Jackie, sit down and what are your goals and who, what, when, where, why the journalism? Why are you doing this? Is it just a passion and you think it's silly and fun, or is there another reason? And my reasoning behind it is I want to help people. I want to have my face out there where, I can have a platform to do so. I just, I want to make an impact in the world. And I think the most amazing thought that I could have with all of it is being able to travel and help and interview people and third world countries and, dabble into nonprofits and everything. But there's still the part of me that's, I want to be like a news broadcaster. It's so cool.
Okay.
Yes. I think my dream is to have my own talk show. Almost like an Ellen or, whatever. Maybe next freaking Oprah. No, I'm kidding. But just something like that where I can interview people and learn. I think it's just, I love learning about people and I love being challenged with it and different cultures. And I always said, I'm like, I will never not try anything, especially if I'm traveling. If they tell me to eat a cockroach, I'm eating too. You dabble into the culture because that, in my opinion, is living. So talking to people makes me feel alive and it makes me feel like I have a purpose. And I think with the whole helping people is, it's so hard to speak and to, I guess, get your point across. And I've been that person that never felt heard in their life, where I want to hold someone's hand that's struggling and say, you're heard. Come on, make fun with it. And, it's not that serious.
No, I hear you because, I grew up in Rhode Island, and then, I was very privileged and given a lot. My parents helped me out and stuff. They paid for all my schooling. When I went to Lynn and did my master's, it felt like I was in fantasy land compared to the stuff I know now of what's going on in this country.
Mm-hmm.
People like we went through, like people that don't have jobs, people that are homeless, people that have been evicted.
Right.
And then the list goes on, people that don't have health care, all this stuff. So do you feel like, and you've been in the Boca Bubble, I would say, I'm not trying to degrade anybody that lives in Boca. I love Boca. Living in the Boca Bubble, it's a totally different ball game. I mean, we do see, poverty on the outskirts. You go into Delray a little bit, you start to see it. Boynton Beach, Riviera Beach, of course, too, where there's some real shady areas. We'll say that just to say the least. But in Boca, it's just like a totally different, it's like a magical place. We say Disney World is the most magical place on earth. It's like Boca is living in the most magical place on earth because you don't see that.
Boca Raton is every retired New Yorker's Disneyland. It is, it's sexy, it's attractive, it's captivating, it's everything. It's everything.
Well,
but it's that's where I learned really hard ways of hanging out with the wrong people, where it's not real. There's no substance. It's material. You have to find, and that's where I guess you just have to find the authenticity of it. That's why, I spent a lot of time with people living in the underprivileged areas in Delray, but they're people and they're just, it's not even a matter of the money, it's just a different lifestyle that I wasn't exposed to, that maybe you weren't exposed to, but they could think the same thing about me. It's at the end of the day, we're all human beings where we all want the same things. And, just biking through those neighborhoods and saying hi and seeing their culture and their way of life and how it differs from mine was really special. It was really, really special because, you learn and you grow.
I do miss that lifestyle. It's like, I don't know if you've been back to New York, but it's like once you're in Boca and you live that lifestyle for 5-6 years, and you jump out of it and go into a different lifestyle, whether it's in, for
Weird.
me, Rhode Island or
It's really weird.
Orlando, it's just like a huge adjustment. It's like a
But it's
lifestyle
also
change.
eye-opening, and, like, this is my biggest problem with Boca is everything is just a facade. I remember I went back to New York about 3 weeks ago, and it's just easy there, you know? I always joke around, but it's not even a joke. I'm like, I literally have to look like I'm going for a freaking job interview just to go get my morning Starbucks. I'm like, you
True.
can't roll up the way that you do in New York in your sweats and your hair in a bun and whatever. No one's gonna even take you any seriously, you know? You can't go out for drinks with your friends in, you know, an old t-shirt and shorts after the beach. It's you got to put the heels on, do the hair. It's la la land, but it's
Yeah.
a great time. I mean, it's
No,
if you
it is.
set up, you love it. It's great. But I mean, and I'm not trying to even generalize it because I do know a
Right.
lot of people that are very easygoing.
Right, right. No, there's a mix everywhere where you go. So let's go into the radio show. So I know you do have the radio show now. Again, it's Tell Us Your Biz with Jackie Birch. And I want you to first to talk about that show. We've talked about in the past, obviously in this interview, about how you got involved with the Brooklyn Cafe, and obviously that's on their station. But regardless, can you talk about the show in depth? And then once we finish with that, we can talk about your new program as far as the podcast with Hacks with Jax.
Mhm. So the Tell Us Your Biz is run by the production company AMP2 TV. So it brings on businesses around South Florida or really anywhere that want to get pushed out. It's basically me just interviewing them how you're interviewing me, and just a conversation about what they do and essentially how to advertise them. A lot of them will purchase a spot and just have a commercial running during the Brooklyn Cafe's show. But it's really interesting. You know, we had on Thursday night, I did it last week. I had a tax solutions guy who did auditing for the IRS. And
Yeah, I saw
that was
that on
really
your
interesting. And
Facebook.
then right before him, the segment before him was an artist. So, I mean, it's a completely different mix of people. There's something really for everybody, but you learn something even when you don't think you're going to.
Right. So going into the podcast, and we talked a little bit about why you wanted to do the podcast, but can you talk about Hacks with Jax? First of all, what is the title?
Okay, so growing up, everyone would call me Jax, Jax. So
Yeah.
I always knew I wanted something like that. So
Okay.
I was always joking around one day, and I was like, one day I'm just going to give you all my life hacks, and I'm going to say it's by Jax. And I just thought it fit. You know, it was just me. It was just stupid, silly, authentic, whatever. So basically, what you can expect from the podcast is just real life talk. I sit down with it and I talk about some of the lessons that took me years to learn.
Mhm.
Talking about, you know, how to take care of yourself, mental health, everything. And then I'm going to start bringing on people, be silly with it. You know, I don't want it to, doesn't have to be something that's so type A. You know, I want people to bring different colors into it and make it messy and make it real though. And interviewing business owners and entrepreneurs and ask them where they find their motivation, and, you know, kind of compare and contrast stories with me. And, you know, I work hard, but how do you almost, what gets you up every single day? I know what can motivate me, but what motivates you? And almost just relate it back to, you know, we're all human beings. We all want success in life, whether that means one thing to another or one thing to me. And but I'm really interested because business owners and entrepreneurs are very romanticized, but how could they not be? Because it's such a great thing. You know, it's amazing to own something. But I want to tap in that, you know, they're just normal people and anybody really can live the life that they want. So
HAX by JAX.com, July 15th. Definitely check it out. Jackie Birch, thanks so much. I really enjoyed this. It was nice to reminisce about Lynn. It was nice to reminisce about radio and mental health issues and all kinds of stuff we reminisced on in general. So let's do this again down the road. I appreciate this.
Thank you so much. This was fun. You can come on my podcast. I'll come back. We'll do it again for sure.
All right.